there's a lot of creative leaders. They have to say something. They can't just like, oh, this is good. We're going in the right direction. Let's keep on going. They need to change things, because if they don't, they feel like they haven't, contributed, or like they are. So everyone is always trying to like pull towards their own direction, which is not necessarily. And finally, there is someone in commercials is usually like a marketing executive or someone, or there is in film there's a director, in TV there is a showrunner, and those people, they know where we're going, because that they have very rarely worked with directors who don't know what they're doing. But it is quite common for the middle layer to not know where they're going, and sometimes they're trying to guess what the person above them thinks without asking them. And that is a recipe for creative miscommunication and collaboration problems, because then they're asking for things and we're trying to steer towards that, and then they're asking for something else because then they got told off by someone.
So Björn Jankes, I guess in Swedish. Yeah. Welcome to the Creative Collaboration Podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're at Gamescom, actually.
Yeah. Gamescom 2025.
2025. How's that been for you?
It's been amazing. I think it's been a really good experience to meet people, see the games, see the queues, see everything that's happening. And
have you stood in a line?
Actually, yeah. I played Little Nightmares 3 Switch game. Very cool. I did that yesterday. Yesterday was a little bit calmer because it was mostly industry people.
Yeah.
And now today is
so,
yeah, everyone is here.
Yeah, as knows you are. Yeah, absolutely. So let's segue into you.
Me?
Yeah. How did you get into the games industry?
Yeah, let's start. I guess we start from the beginning. So in 2004, I started studying at a game development 3D art school in Karlshamn called School of Future Entertainment. And that was sort of I always wanted to do games. So I previously had studied a couple of years towards some engineering degree at Linköping University.
Okay. That's my...
Yeah. I think it. Yeah. So I started a course or a program there called Media Technology.
Yeah, in Norrköping.
Yes.
Yeah.
And after 2 years, I figured I didn't want to continue that because it was like not really what I wanted to do. And it was mostly maths and physics. And it was great. Like, it was a good foundation for the stuff you could become. But it wasn't the things that I wanted to do, because I always wanted to be work more with art and be more creative. So I applied for this other school and got in there. It was it was kind of a split. So half of it was more geared towards film and TV, and half of it was more geared towards games. This was 2004, so there wasn't a whole lot of different educations available at the time, in Sweden at least. But it was a lot of foundational 3D drawing, modeling, animating, like all of that stuff. And some technical aspects as well, which was, it suited me because I am a pretty technical person as well. So, and when I joined that school, like I had a classmate that we went to because they had like trial days. So there was like full day trials. We went there for interviews, art tests, things like that. So because there was like 2 or 3 to 1 in terms of applicants versus spots. So it was a little bit tough to get in. And one of the guys there, he really wanted to do film, and I really wanted to do games. And after we finished the school, he went into games, and I went into film. It was very ironic. It's that Ubisoft now, and it's been since then. Anyway, so my way back to games, I guess, went through working for visual effects companies for many, many years. So I started doing commercials and commercials and some game trailers and stuff at a company called Visual Art, which was in Stockholm. They pivoted to do digital signage and stuff after a few years, and we've been there. But and then I went freelance. I freelanced for 4 or 5 years, doing various things. I went to London. I lived there for a while. I went to Oslo and worked for a company called Storm and did like Norwegian films and various other projects. At that some point there, I started also becoming a lead and also supervisor. So a supervisor in the film and TV industry is, it's not really a director as in games, but it is a creative leader. And it can be a small part of the project or it can be a big part of the project. So, and my experience grew and my responsibilities grew. I worked with a company called Swiss. We did a lot of commercials, flew all around the world filming. We did the Epic Split commercial for Volvo, if you remember.
Thumb down thing.
Yeah, we did that one, and we did a bunch of really cool stuff. And then some of my friends who had started a company called Important Looking Parts, they were at my place and we were drinking beer and we were like, we should work together again. Because I had worked together for them when they just started the company, but they couldn't afford to have so many employees. So they're like, yeah. But then I'm like, yeah, cool. And then I went there. And that was 8 years later. I kind of left and I felt I needed to do something else. And then a friend of mine worked this company, Star Stable. She wanted to have a lunch and I was like, I'm up for that. They had a job as a manager there for their art team. And so I applied for that and got in, and I guess the rest is history. And now I'm working as the art director.
Good. And Star Stable, for anyone that don't know.
Star Stable Entertainment. So we make a game called Star Stable Online, which is a massively multiplayer horse game. We have quite a lot of players. We've been active for 14 years, so it's been live for 14 years. We have quite a heavy emphasis on releasing things every week, so we have over 700 consecutive releases every week. We've never missed one.
Interesting.
So it's kind of high pace to get things out, but of course we have longer projects than 1 week. But yeah, cool.
How would you describe your role in the creative process of
as an art director? Yeah, as an art director, of course, my role is to define and uphold and refine the creative vision of the art in the game. So everything that goes into the game is basically my responsibilities in terms of the visuals. And I help the team to define what direction we're going with the style, but also like keeping everyone within that style and also where we can expand and improve, because of course the game has been out for such a long time. We really need to innovate and bring things further, and we can't be stuck in our tracks always.
Got it. Yeah. What's your definition of creative collaboration? Because that's the name of the show, and everyone seems to have it.
Definition of creative collaboration. So I can understand why people have different, because it's kind of loose, right?
It is loose.
Yeah. So I mean, there is creative collaboration within the team, of course, within like the art team, for example, where I think we're around 35 artists in the team. But there's also, of course, a lot of creative collaborations between the departments. So the art together with design and together with audio, and like there's a lot of creative collaboration going on.
Yeah.
So when it works at its best, it's all of those things. You can have ideas as a designer, and you can get like someone in the art department like, yeah, cool, that I can make you these like tome that's like burning pages and stuff like that, and some audio guy was like, yeah, I could have a idea for music here that can work out really well, and like everyone is kind of working towards the same goal.
Mm-hmm.
And they have like a collective vision of where they're going. I think that's when creative collaboration works as best, because you get ideas, but those are their ideas are pointed in the right direction. So everyone's not like going in different ways.
Yeah, no, thanks. I mean, that is sort of the question I'm trying to answer, not literally, but that's what these discussions are usually about. Inherently, something as complex as a game or a good game, a game that sells, has all these people doing different things. And, sometimes they might have different personalities or views of life, a little bit based on, their background, their specialization, right?
Yeah.
And that makes it even harder. But you touched on it, so I think we're on the same page. But what's your your approach or the Star Stable approach to making it happen?
To making collaboration happen across the different
to achieve.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. Of course, it's very different because we do have very different kinds of projects. So we have smaller projects. Maybe we're trying to make a small side quest for the game, or we're trying to add something to a festival. We have a bunch of festivals throughout the year that we bring back every year, but we always add and remove things from them so they stay fresh.
Yeah.
So that could be a smaller one, but we can also have like a big thing. Like right now we're working on a big area, which we have communicated. So I'm actually not spoiling anything, but so that's a huge project, like adding a new area to the map and where you can go and do things. So that's a bigger thing, but all of them, I think the essential part is to have a good communicative brief. Where are we going? And get everyone to buy in on the brief. And also refine that, because I mean, me as a art director, I have a very good collaboration with design direction and game direction and technical direction, who are all here at the com as well. And we are very aligned where we want to go, which is great, but we have to share that in a way to our teams and make them feel the same alignment and punching the microphone. Two wild gestures. But I think that's the challenge. But I think it's when it goes well, which it does many times, it is definitely you can feel when the team is aligned and they understand where we're going, and they can be creative within that, and they can feel like, oh, but I have an idea and I don't need to be like bite my tongue on it, like, because I know it's where we're heading anyway. It's like, oh, I can add something here. I think that's, at least to me, that's where the magic happens. When people are safe enough to try things, but also they know like, oh, we're going here. So yeah.
So a little bit of freedom, but
yeah, a lot of freedom. Yeah, I would say we really try to empower the teams. So as directors, we try to not be micromanaging very hard, and I think we're pretty successful with it as well. Coming from visual effects, where everything is very micromanaged, usually from all the way up the top, this is a much healthier way of working together.
Yeah,
I would say.
Right. So can you remember or give us an example of when it didn't work? I mean, you sort of touched on it now, but do you remember one project, or you don't have to say names or anything?
Yeah, I think it's easier for me to, I guess, go back to my roots with visual effects. So what can happen, and which is very common, is that in film it works very differently from games, because in film you have a director, of course, which is the one you see on billboards, but you also have a whole creative team below that, which usually there's for visual effects, there's a visual effects supervisor on the client side. So that is like the boss of everything that goes into the film on a visual effects level, which is basically everything. Like everything you see on in a film is touched somehow by someone. It can be small things like removing a sign in the background that shouldn't be there, or like they don't have the license for, whatever, to like changing everything.
Yeah. You count like grading and that stuff as well.
Yeah, that is also, I mean, that's, we call it, it's hard, but we used to call it, that's part of the posts.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas visual effects is separate. We deliver as a visual effects artist or visual effects company, we deliver to the post facility, and that's where they did the grading and sort of finishing of the film. But yeah, everything is graded as well. So yeah, everything's touched. There's no. There was this episode with the Starbucks cup, if you remember, on Game of Thrones.
No.
There's a shot in Game of Thrones where there's a Starbucks cup in the background. There's a big hullabaloo about that.
I can actually imagine.
Yeah, I was super surprised because I don't understand, given that we worked on that episode and we didn't, well, of course, didn't touch that one, but that someone had missed that because it's so unlikely. It's so unlikely.
What episode is it?
I don't remember that episode, but it was in the last season. All right, it's a terrible season. Don't worry. So where were we? Chaos in projects. Yeah. So creative leadership that goes wrong. I think some cases there's, and this is true with working with commercials as well. There's a lot of creative leaders that have the feel that they need to sort of, they have to say something. They can't just like, oh, this is good. We're going in the right direction. Let's keep on going. They need to change things, because if they don't, they feel like they haven't, contributed, or like they are. So everyone is always trying to like pull towards their own direction, which is not necessarily in the finally. There is someone in commercials is usually like a marketing executive or someone, or there is in film there's a director, in TV there is a showrunner. And those people, they know where we're going, because that they have very rarely worked with directors who don't know what they're doing. But it is quite common for the middle layer to not know where they're going, and sometimes they're trying to guess what the person above them thinks without asking them. And that is a recipe for creative communication and collaboration problems, because then they're asking for things and we're trying to steer towards that, and then they're asking for something else because then they got told off by someone. Oh no, we're not doing that. So that is bad. And also I think when you're very micromanaging with the artists or with the team in themselves, that is also a recipe for disaster. Everyone just switches off.
Yeah.
If you get too much, no this, no that, no more this. I think Phil Tippett, which is a very famous visual effects supervisor, worked on Jurassic Park, for example. It's credited as the dinosaur howler effect, something like that. No, it is awesome. But he put it very frankly, like, if you manage artists, let them do art. Because if you say things like, move the sofa here, no, move it here, like, after a very short time, they just switch off. And you go like, I'll put it wherever you want to. I'm not going to put any of my effort into it. I'm just going to do what you say. So I think that's one way to kill basically creative collaboration, because then it's you that are the creative, and that person is just pushing the buttons.
Yeah, it's killing creativity even. And obviously there's no,
So you can do it very easily, but it's harder to give clear direction without being.
Yeah. Good. Do you think the games industry handled that better? I mean,
No.
like strong individual, like creative vision versus team alignment, and that balance, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Even though I haven't been working more than a couple of years in the gaming industry, I have a lot of friends in the gaming industry, and from what they tell me and how it works in both AAA and in indie studios, this is not the solved problem in the gaming space at all. I think there are good examples and bad examples in basic hardware studio where things have gone good and some where things are really not going good. So it seems to be, a difficult problem that no one has quite solved because it's so personal, right? So it's not only a process. If it was a process, I'm sure Ubisoft and EA and them, they would have solved it because they're pretty good with processes. But it's people and feelings and creativity and communication between people. That's hard.
Yeah.
That requires something from that person, and it's not the process.
No. Yeah.
I mean, you can help yourself by remembering some things like good tips, but at the end of the day, you still need to work with the team.
Yeah. No, okay. And you're obviously in that role.
Yeah.
And you have at least some ability to affect your, like, the way that you work. So how do you mentioned it earlier, but what's your approach?
Yeah, my approach towards the team is, when I started this role, so the previous art director who had been with the company for many, many years, like since the start, and I basically came into that role with a lot of her legacy, which wasn't bad at all. Like she had built this art style, and so it was, I'm kind of a steward for that legacy, right? But what I could see is that she had been working really hard on the sort of future stuff, but she hadn't had as much time with clarifying things sometimes. So there was some things that I think, and we're very different. Like she's a good friend of mine, so we're still in touch, but we're very different. And I think what I brought a little bit to the table is that I could be a little bit more directing when actually pointing a hand somewhere, like this is the right direction we're going. And I really try to do that without also going in and like, I want you to do this and I want you to do that. I really try my best to, I want this. This is where we go. I want the player to feel this. I want this to look like this. And then the team is free to build on that. And if they feel uncertain, which happens a lot, right? Like we're all uncertain, they can always ask me, and I will, as fast as I can, unblock them. And sometimes it's just making a decision. It's not so. Sometimes it's like two good options, and but you need to pick one. Otherwise, there is nothing. You can't go forward.
Yeah.
Sometimes the two bad options. Still need to pick one. And I understand, like especially from a more junior team member, it's hard to make that call. And that's what I'm here for, like to make that call and to stand by it, try to help them. So I think that is what I'm trying to bring to the table, in order to make the process more smooth. Whereas I think, my predecessor, she worked a lot on the long-term visions and stuff like that, which is very helpful. But it's a different piece of this.
Yeah, sure. Do you think that could essentially be two different roles?
It could be. It could be, but I think both are necessary. And I think in big companies you tend to split it more. I mean, we're 150 or something like that. We're not that big, but we're also not that small. And also, I rely a lot on my leads. So I have a few leads on the character side, on the animation side, art, environment art side. So, and they have also a lot of freedom to sort of organize the work and assign their people to things, and they can always come to me if they need assistance as well. But I think it's very important that the artists themselves feel like they have ownership, that when they're working on something, there might be an asset, it could be a feature, it could be texture, it could be anything. But if they feel like, okay, but what I think also matters in this, they will own it in a way that really unlocks that creativity. But sometimes, like everyone says, and this is very true, like you need, as an artist, you need boundaries. Like you need to know where you cannot go outside of this. So that can be also very helpful to unlock creativity. Tell them, where are the boundaries, and what are we shooting for this time? The art style is one boundary, of course, but there are many, many others, like how we treat our players, what we want it to feel, what kind of content is suitable for the game that we're making, and so on.
Yeah. Okay. And you talked about this a little bit earlier, but how do you approach the sort of cross-discipline work you do? You know, your teams versus engineering.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean, I think we have, again, like all studios, I think we have good examples and bad examples at Star Stable. So we have, of course, the good example would be when everyone is working together in harmony and everyone is just trying to sort of move everything forward in the right way. But sometimes there are dependencies that you didn't think about. And that's usually maybe some of the more, because the way we split it up is like the studio side has art and design and audio and a little bit of gameplay programming as well. But then we have like more of the engineering side is more on the back end. Of course, we're massing the multiplayer. There's servers, there's launcher, there's a lot of technical components, and the engine is an in-house engine. So they are running their thing a little bit differently from the studio side. But we're meshing, like we're building the game together. But that's, I guess, where there can be some friction sometimes. So it's like, it's not always as easy as it is to work with maybe design and art, or art and audio and so.
Yeah. No, I guess that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Like, how do you make or enable different people, different departments to actually work towards the same thing, so we can make a good game that actually sells essentially.
Yeah, and I mean, we are making a good game, but whatever sells it. So that is true. But of course, we can always be better. Like we can always be better. And we've tried a bunch of different things in the studio. We tried building more cross functional teams. I think that was a very big hype for some time. Like put everyone together in smaller teams and like let them do things. That was really hard. That was really tough because you have specialities within all teams. If you take gameplay programmers or game designers, they all know different parts of the process better or worse, and they're might be excellent with writing and creating new quests, but they're not so good with like economy design or something like that. So it can be a challenge to make those teams actually be able to do the things they need, because then they need to grow so much, because you need like a specialty, like a database backend engineer, and you need like someone who's good with UI, and then you need so many things to make a game that making small teams that can do all of it is very hard, unless you're like an indie studio maybe, and then what you can buy it with time or money, right? And so either you can have everyone have 7 different roles and a little bit more time, or you can, like we are more specialized, even though it's always good to know more things.
Yeah. All right. So also a different department, but when at what point in the sort of creative process of making a game do you think you should let the commercial voices into discussion?
I think this should be always there. But it's very different from having them in this discussion and having them lead the discussion, I would say. I think it's very important because at the end of the day, we're making a product, right? So the players have to love it, but they also need to pay something to us. Otherwise, we can't sustain. and we're out of a job, we can't make the game that they like. So I think it's very important. I think everyone, especially in leadership positions, need to think about that. I guess as an art person, like, it's not very easy, I guess, to talk about money and like the sort of where the revenue stream is and what kind of, be mindful budget, things like that. Like, but I think everyone has to do that. That is a shared responsibility. And if you don't share it, then someone will come in and say like, oh, now this person from marketing is running the show, and you have to adapt. So it's better to collaborate and all think about it, and then you can come up with more creative solutions as well. I think sometimes it's easy to blame the money guys, but we shouldn't really. Like, we all have that responsibility.
So do you think also creative ideas or contribution to the creative process can come from, community, marketing, even management?
Community, for sure. I mean, community is super important to us. And even though we don't really have any community generated content, we don't have UGC or anything like that, but there's a lot of ideas there. Like, there's a lot of feedback. There's so much value in listening to the players, and also, of course, like, through a lens of experts, because you can't have them to design the game. It's like we all know that won't work, right? We want to build the thing that they actually like, not the thing that they think they like, which is not always the same thing. But we're always listening to the public, and we have the luxury with having a live service game like we do, is that they're always there. They're gonna tell us every way they can, both the good and the bad. And I think it's a key. It's a key thing that they are passionate and they will tell us. And we release every week, so they get to tell us many times. Whereas if you're building a new IP or a new game from scratch, and you don't know what anyone thinks, really, because all you have is maybe you have some friends and family tests, like very limited alpha tests, stuff like that. That can be good information, but that's not what's going to happen when you release it, right? So we have that luxury. We know, they're going to tell us.
Yeah. All right. So do you have rituals, processes, tools, anything else that sort of helps you to structure this creating collaboration again that you prefer? It can be stand-ups, it could be anything.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we have a lot of these kind of things, of course. We have stand-ups with the team, we're share blockers and things like that. We also have, of course, focused meetings with different parts of the team for solving problems and so on. We have the direction meeting where the direction group meets and discuss everything that's going on, and maybe if there are anything that the teams have flagged up to us, we can discuss that and maybe make new decisions or change something or allocate resources differently and things like that. So it is all about that. And I think most of the problem solving and the creative collaboration comes out in the projects. So like in the stand-ups, in the focus groups, in the different various play tests that we have, where you test the game or test a feature or test piece of content that we're working on. I think that's where most of it happens.
Yeah. Do you have people working in the office, remote, or hybrid?
Yeah. So we're a fully hybrid studio.
Fully hybrid.
Yeah. So we have very flexible working conditions.
Okay.
You can be in the office or you can be somewhere else.
Okay. How do you think that affects
collaboration? Yeah. Seriously, it does. It does affect collaboration. I think for some things it's better, like being at home. When you're switching between meetings every 5 minutes, it's pretty hard. For a person like me who has a lot of things I need to be a part of. Sometimes it's easier for me to be home because then I can just go to the next short meeting and continue work. But other things like collaboration, where you can sit at someone's desk and discuss a thing and look at that is also super valuable. So both are valuable in their own way. And having focus time is much easier at home. Like for the people who are like, okay, I really need to dig into this technical problem, and it's up to me to solve it. But if someone comes and interrupts you every 5 minutes, that's very hard. So then it can be easier to be at home. Whereas if you have a workshop and you want to sort of bounce ideas around, it could be very useful to be in the office. So I think everyone is trying to find their own sweet spot. And we have, of course, some mandatory things we want everyone to attend. For example, we're going to have a company kickoff day now coming up in a couple of weeks. Everyone should be there physically because that's where you meet people, right? So fully remote, I think would be a mistake, but also fully in office doesn't really provide that benefit that I think especially some leaders think that it would.
Can you remember like a very tough lesson or a mistake from your previous career?
A tough lesson
in this around creativity, collaboration.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough question for but
yeah, I'm thinking back, and it's many areas of things that have course. I mean, we've all made many mistakes over the years, and continue to do them, and that's how we learn, right? Sales. It's hard to remember them specifically, but it was a very popular TV show with zombies.
Okay.
And we're working on some episode there, and I was warned that the client supervisor on the network side, they were kind of tough. So, but I don't high self-confidence, and I didn't really. I was like, we're gonna do this like a regular, like it's gonna be fine. Yeah, it was fine. It's very rare, but it happens that people are like actually very, very angry with you, and that is very tough. You have to experience it to know how you react. But I was not happy with that, how that played out, and in the end, we sort of worked through it. Like that client wasn't unreasonable. They were kind of unreasonable in that moment, and they were very angry with us, and with me. And I think that is probably a good lesson, because it's like, it's a lot of assumptions, right? You think, again, talking about creative collaboration, you assume that you know where the big compass arrow is heading, but people aren't so easy to understand sometimes. And you think you're going there, but they're pointing this way. And if you push it that way, and they're very angry with you, and then I mean, we found out what they wanted, and they were angry with us for several years, and we were maybe a little bit late, and maybe we didn't like to do the thing that they asked for in the way that they asked for it. So, but yeah, that was a tough lesson to learn. It was like, yeah, okay, let's jump down a notch. Like, don't be so cook.
Yeah. Okay. So your case for being.
Yeah. Humbling.
Yeah. It was a humbling experience, but
yeah.
So can I assume that it was not a Swedish company?
No, then it was American.
Yeah. And do you think that those like cultural differences?
Yeah, they're massive. Massive. Yeah. But also cultural, it's also personal, right? So I worked with a lot of American people, and they are generally not like that. So this person is in his way more so than others, but yeah, it's more common in some cultures to maybe call out things very directly and be very to the point. And I like when that is the case, when you kind of you can move forward in the process. So if someone calls out like, I really wanted this in a different way, and this is the way, and maybe they're a little bit upset, but you can work with that. It's harder when they're like just a little bit disappointed. Yeah, it's the classic, like that's actually tougher because you don't really know. They're not super clear. Maybe they're unable to tell you what they want, and you, as especially when you're working towards someone else's goals, it's very hard unless you get a very clear brief. And I think, yeah, that's the most challenging. I don't think that's super cultural, but yeah, I think the Americans are better because they are more direct.
Yeah.
In that respect.
Yeah, I mean, direct means more details, right?
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, and also specific.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It doesn't need to be super detailed. It could be like fairly vague in terms of the specifics, but they need to provide a very clear thought. Like maybe it's just an emotion that they want to have. It's up to you to sort of find that. Can be very challenging, but it can also be very fun.
Yeah. So, how many different nationalities work at Star Cinema?
I don't know.
That's like,
It's so many.
It's so much. Okay.
Yes.
So, do you see any of this, like these cultural differences, matter in your work?
No, I think when you're building a team like we are, all of the cultural differences are additive. Like they're adding to us understanding and being able to tackle more things. So in the direction group, we have 4 directors who are all 4 different nationalities. We have 2 women, 2 men.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very, very good for a multitude of reasons. Because our player base is not one person, right?
Yeah.
So our player base is in a lot of different countries with a lot of different values and a lot of different ideas on how things are. So as much as we can, if we can represent that within the company without forcing it in some way. I know some people are like scared of that. It's like, oh, you hired this person just because this or that.
Mm.
I don't think that's ever happened when I've recruited, at least. But if I can see value in that person being maybe coming from a different country, speaking different language, or like, as long as we can communicate, I think everything is additive.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a process before you gain the benefits? If you look at because we have obviously cultural differences, and there might be misunderstandings, and there might be all that. But when it gels, it's better. But is there is that a process to get to the point?
I think that's a process in all teams.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it can be more challenging, especially if the language barrier is there. Like if someone has trouble with speaking English. I think that is a thing, at least me, I'm trying to select for people who are good at communicating. And good at communicating doesn't mean you need to be perfect without a dialect. That's not like what I mean. I really think being able to communicate what you want is important. And I think that we can see in an interview process if this person has trouble understanding what we want or trouble communicating what they want, that's not very helpful. That's going to be a problem in a team. You can build across that or like overcome those issues. Sorry, but it is. I think it's harder if you don't speak the language. If you speak the language enough to be able to communicate well, I think the cultural assimilation, more of like, not assimilation because that means you remove your culture, but more adoption in the team is not big at all. Like that time is almost the same as what happens if you bring people who are very, very alike into a team is that creates other types of friction. Because they also have the same expectations maybe on what the career would be. Some people think it's very easy to just hire clones of yourself.
Yeah.
But if you have ever had to work with someone who is very much like yourself, it's a very big problem. So diversity in the group is good for many reasons, and culturally, it's just one of those parameters, I think.
Okay, cool. All right. Since we're doing tough questions, but no, have you ever had to kill your darling based on, the rest of the team didn't like your idea or something like that, or you in a management decision, whatever?
I think that happens all the time, especially in a direction level or a management position. As long as you are listening to the team and not like forcing your ideas on everyone all the time, which I know that's a kind of leadership style some have, but I don't. So I'm very used to, since I come from this visual effects background where we had a lot of creative ownership up until a point, and then someone else's ownership took precedence. So we were always having to sort of adapt to that. And I think that's been very helpful for me, because then it has meant that I'm not super attached. Like I love to see my ideas come into the game and like see them be built on and expanded on and maybe interpreted by the team and so on. That's super fun, but I don't think it's a problem when they don't. And I think if you're too married to your problem or your solutions, especially not so much the ideas. Ideas, I think we all know, like they come and go. They're kind of cheap. But solutions and various specifics, if you're too married to it, it's very hard to be in this position, I think, in a company like Star Stable, where we actually value our team members.
Yeah. Okay. It's good. And what advice would you give someone that's just started in the industry or trying to get into the industry, again, related to like working collaboratively in a team with different?
Yeah, I think it's like those things are good. Like trying to understand that we're all, like even me, like we're all a piece in the puzzle. We're not the whole puzzle. Like we're trying to build together towards something. And that something is sometimes very nebulous, what the players want and what they like. But it's rarely what you have in your head.
Yeah.
So try to be mindful of that and like not... I think there are hills worth dying on. Like I think you should be comfortable with challenging your teammates and your peers and so on. Like, because I think that brings a lot of value. But sometimes it's also, when the decision is made, accept and commit is like a very good way of thinking about it. Like, okay, we had A and B was really my thing. Like I really wanted B, but we went with A. I couldn't do anything about it. Okay, I accept that, and now we commit and we make A as good as we can, because that is the way. Otherwise, I think it's very easy to get stuck in like, oh wait, let's do A, okay, but like I really meant to be the B. B would have been so much better.
Yeah.
And if you're stuck in that, A will never be good.
No, but yeah, then there is no single direction.
No.
Maybe if I do this, I can maybe make it a little bit more like B.
Yeah, and you have like B still in your head, yeah, and you're like, maybe if A kind of fails, maybe I can like pitch B again.
Yeah.
It's just a bad practice.
Yeah, I think that is kill your darling, right?
Yeah,
it's like I love this idea, but gotta let it go.
You need to move on, and you need to commit to whatever was in the end chosen, even if it wasn't like your decision. Maybe it was your decision. I think that's the best advice also for leaders is to understand when A is actually better, and like even though B is your passion, A might be the thing, and you need to commit and continue on that, and also maybe make the team excited for A, because that's also a big part of being a creative leader, is to get other people excited and ambitious about it and move on. And yeah, I really think I really think that is like, kill your darlings. Also accept differences, that you are different. Like some people are, especially when you're working as a young or starting in the industry or starting with creative work, is try to learn from the people around you, but also find your own way. Like, it's so easy to get caught up because there's a lot of this is a thing like that provokes me a little bit, but like there's a lot of discussion. I know that I've been to a lot of student conventions and student days and so on, about work-life balance. I think it's a very important subject. I think we should not disregard it in any way, but I think that is a very weird focus for a student, because as a very young person, you have a very short amount of time to learn a lot of things. If you don't work on that as much as you can, maybe you can only work so many hours per week. And I'm not saying you should work 100 hours a week on for free at your studio or whatever, but I think the focus would have to be learn as much as you can, because so much to learn, and like everyone else is also learning. And if you're like checking out at 3 because it's like, I'm tired now, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. I mean, it also relates to being passionate about, games, and particularly the game, hopefully, that your studio is working on, which is essentially what made crunch possible.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, we're underpaying, we're forcing overtime.
Yep.
But everyone's passionate about it. You know what I mean?
So, I mean, it's I really don't like crunch culture, and that's that. I should also mention, like, we haven't crunched at Star Stable for more than 5-6 years. Some say never. I'm not been with the studio that long, so I don't know. But there's no crunch.
No.
And there's no forced overtime. So I think, and still I hear these discussions. Sometimes, especially with the younger people.
Yeah, but I think the way that it relates again is that, I mean, to your point, you need to be passionate about this, and that's probably why you're going to put in maybe more hours to excel and be able to.
Yeah, and I think what you should be passionate about, even if it's not the game you're working on or the studio you're working at, is at least your own development and your own core skills, and like where you can become, what you can become. And if you feel like you can only put so much into it, you shouldn't put more into it, because like maybe you have kids, maybe you have something else, or you're not neurotypical or whatever. Like there are definitely ways which of things that limit you, and you should like respect that, and you should listen to yourself, your body, your like mental health, all of that 100%. But shouldn't really, like, I think you should, this is a mindset thing, right? You need to have the mindset of, okay, I'm working on becoming the best at this, or I'm trying to become like a lead of this, or I want to be a senior, or I want to be whatever you want to be, and I work towards that. And that is not necessarily putting all those hours in your company. Maybe you can do stuff at home, maybe you can learn things, maybe you can go to conventions and go to talks and try to learn. Like there's a lot of ways to evolve that doesn't involve grinding the hours or like crunching or things like that. And also I think crunch is usually a sign of a process problem at the studio, which I think everyone agrees with, but I can also see it becoming more so the more ambitious you are. And I think ambition is unfortunately also a good thing, because you need to be ambitious. I think we all see that. Like games that are meh, they don't track.
So would you say that like gaming or game development isn't really a 9-to-5 job?
I would say it could be. Yeah. But as you're starting, like you must understand that there's a pretty big gap between you coming in as a student intern and maybe like a mid-tier artist, designer who has been working for years and years and experienced all of these things. So you have a little bit of a catch-up to do, and how you do that, I mean, that's up to you. But I think most students would like to be hired
Hopefully, and
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, and if you don't get that at the place you're maybe doing your internship or like your first job or whatever,
Yeah.
and you find yourself without a job, you need to have that skill set. And it's very late to start building it when you're unemployed, even though you might have more time then. But yeah, I really would take advantage of the opportunity. Like you can work with a lot of cool, good people who can teach you a lot of things. Do that.
Mm.
So work hard in the 8 hours a day that you're at the studio, at least. Like I would say that.
Yeah.
Put in the energy. I think you will reap the rewards for sure.
Yeah. That makes sense. So, do you have any hobbies or anything else that you think helped you become like a better collaborator? Or do you know,
Collaborate. I don't know.
play team sport or military service or other?
Yeah, I did military service. That I don't think that made me a better player. I think. Well, it made me understand that I'm a terrible person, or I don't know. So,
I hope that's not the case.
no, but it's. I mean, have you done military service?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. I also in the home guard. I think I don't think that maybe makes me a better collaborator, but it is another team where everyone has to pull in the same direction. And
Yeah, but it's also a very micromanaging kind of way of.
I don't think it is. I mean, it's literally.
It was for me.
I don't think it should be.
No, maybe it shouldn't be. I think leadership styles maybe have evolved. But
Yeah,
so this was kind of a long time ago.
yeah. I think it's very much like each unit has an objective, and then you can move around in that box as long as you follow direction. I think it's actually pretty similar to what you said. No, I mean,
Yeah, I think when it works as it should.
Yeah.
But I also can see, as a 19-year-old, when you do military service, like you're basically growing up.
Yeah.
Which is good, but it's not really helping you. It's helping you to understand how the world works a little bit and maybe humble you a little bit as well. You get to experience physical and things that most people don't.
Yeah. No, for maybe it's not the best example.
No,
But it's not for you.
No, I don't know. Like I didn't come away from it thinking, oh, this was the best thing.
No.
But I also can see that other people had other experiences.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anything else? Like I said, sports or chess club or
No, I play games.
Yeah.
Like I think we all do. But yeah, I paint. Oil painting. That's a very solo activity.
Yeah.
And I have 2 kids and 3 horses, so those take a lot of time. And and a farm.
Yeah.
That is.
So you have actual horses and you work on the horse gate. I must rhyme somehow.
I'd be very convenient sometimes. Yeah. We can go out and look at them. And it's like, this is what they actually are.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, this was fun. Thanks a lot. Is there anyone you'd love to see on the podcasts?
No, there's a lot of legends in the industry, of course. I don't have a name on top of my head.
No name.
No.
All right. Any role that would be interesting to.
Yeah, I mean, I think like if we're talking creative collaboration, like all of the different disciplines are interesting. Narrative, like creative direction, and so on. I think it's valuable to hear what other people are thinking around these topics. Of course, I have my view, and I've been, as I said, like not in the games industry, but I'm working creatively leadership for many years. So maybe I'm stuck in my way of thinking. I think it's valuable to hear other ways of thinking.
Yeah.
To get unstuck.
Cool. So where can people read more about you if you have, a blog or something, or Star Stable?
StarStableOnline.com.
Yep.
Of course, we're on all social media, all platforms basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's where you can read about the game. We also have a pretty good blog on the webpage where we did describe the creative process, like a lot of behind the scenes stuff around how we create things and what we're planning to do and so on. So that's actually a pretty good resource, especially if you're new to game development and like wanting to learn a little bit how things are made, because I don't think a lot of studios do that. We share about some difficulties in production and like how we do with our horses and what we do with how we build the main quests and stuff like that. So it's pretty informative, I hope.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming, man.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of Gamescom.
Thank you. I will. And thank you for bringing me on.
My pleasure.